evening all. Today I'm going to introduce the process of 3D printing objects such as the one shown in the Tommy Edison video. I'll be demonstrating 3D printing this giraffe. Next, I'll put the 3D file on this massive 64 megabyte SD card and put it into the printer. Once inserted, I'll navigate to the print from SD card menu. I'll navigate to the file and I'll print the giraffe file. Right now, the bed is currently heating up as it needs to get to 50 degrees. Currently it's 46 degrees. Once it reaches 50 degrees on my crude setup, I wait until it reaches the ends because I'm too lazy to make end stops. It rises so that it has enough clearance for the servo arm to go down. Now it's looking for the bottom platform. Once it's figured out where that is, it's going to start the auto bed leveling probing map. So what it's going to do now is probe 4 different points around the bed. This is the second point now, but the purpose of those points is so that rather than have an end stop somewhere here, it has it actually on the extruder itself, and it compensates for any height variations in the bed. So if one is, say for example, that corner is higher than that corner, it knows exactly how much higher and it will try to compensate for that. It's not actually auto bed leveling, it's more like auto bed compensation. So right now it's just waiting for it to, the extruder is currently at 119 degrees and it needs to get to 215. The temperature has reached 215, it's actually overshot, and right now it seems to have lowered. So right now it's going to begin the first layer. And that's just the base platform. So this giraffe layer has actually got no inside, so it's completely hollow, but it has got three parameters, rather than an infill. So it won't actually need an infill. So here it's doing the second layer. I had to help it with the first layer. I guess it's just a quirk of this printer. I probably should fix that. Ugh, that sounds rough. So if you're familiar with the 3D printer software Marlin, you'll recognize that the X and Y coordinates are replaced with ETR, which is right here. So that's a custom firmware change that I made, and it just uses some linear algebra based on the percentage it's done and the time taken already to try to figure out how long it's going to take. And it's not very accurate early on, but after about 20%, it's kind of accurate. It's a rough guide. Is actually quite hollow, and this allows it to be very light. As you can see, I probably should have added an infill, as it's kind of skipped over the top there. It's not quite filled in properly, and that can be bad, but it makes it not look as well as it could, but for the purpose I'm using it, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. So I made the mistake of completely forgetting about support material. The head of the giraffe tried to print on thin air, and so I had to help it stand. I had to help it print with a screwdriver, which wasn't the best, but I suppose it worked. Yeah, it's pretty much almost done. I think right now it's just doing the... Here we go. When it slides over, I have to click it manually, of course, because this is the most professional printer in the world. And this is the giraffe. Now the fun part is removing it from the platform, which usually I then do with a screwdriver. Okay, so once I'm ready to remove it, what I'd do is I'd probably grab something like this small screwdriver and look for a place underneath the giraffe which I could jam the screwdriver. Which it doesn't, if I zoom in here, it doesn't look like there's very much room. I can jam it in somewhere. So what I've done here is I've jammed the screwdriver into it near its back foot by putting this flathead screwdriver near the bottom, and then just using this as essentially a hammer and banging it like that. And so if I start peeling it, it should come off. Now usually it just takes the bed's platform with it. That's usually fine. Usually that's fine. I just reapply it and peel it off the bottom. But yeah, that looks pretty good. It doesn't weigh much, and I feel it's pretty strong. Now to make the print look as good as possible, normally I just first of all, just do something as simple as picking it up and looking around. For example, this tape could probably go. Another thing that I could do, I wish this hadn't happened, but another thing I noticed was under the chin, there's a lot of plastic that have curled up there, and it looks very ugly. So what I might do is just sand it down. As you can see there, it's curled up and it doesn't look so good. Perhaps filing it. So I've cleaned up most of the giraffe. If you look under his neck, it does look slightly rough. However, I think it feels alright. So I do wish the back had looked neater, but it doesn't feel any different. And yeah, so that's the objects that I've printed for Tommy. These are the other 4. And so if you're interested in seeing more of these kinds of videos where I go through the detail and the process of 3D printing objects, then feel free to subscribe, as that it both lets me know that you're interested in that content and it notifies you when I do post that content. If you think this was an interesting video, perhaps consider giving it a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Another interesting feature of this clearly professional printer is the servo arm is literally made out of a paddle pop stick.